Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's ViDevo. This morning we are in Mark chapter 7 once again, starting in verse 24 and going all the way to verse 30, which, as you'll see, is a passage that sometimes leaves Christians kind of scratching their heads. Let's check it out. As Mark says, verse 24, Jesus left that place where we read about last time and went to the vicinity of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know it, yet he could not keep his presence secret. In fact, as soon as she heard about him, a woman whose little daughter was possessed by an impure spirit came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, born in Syrian Phoenicia. She begged Jesus to drive the demon out of her daughter. "First let the children eat all they want," he told her, "for it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." "Lord," she replied, "even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Then he told her, "For such a reply you may go. The demon has left your daughter." She went home and found her child lying on the bed and the demon gone. Now, kind of a weird passage to us in 2015 America, right? I mean, it's like, did Jesus seriously just refer to this woman as a dog? And what's all this stuff about the crumbs? Let me break it down for you, thanks to a lot of help from some commentaries I just read. Basically, this is yet another example of how gracious Jesus is and how he responds to people who put their faith in him. Long story short, as the Messiah, as the Savior, Jesus' mission in coming to this earth around 2,000 years ago was to offer his salvation first to God's chosen people, the Jewish people. Non-Jewish people would get the opportunity to have that salvation too later on, but in the priority list of the mission Jesus came to earth for, it was the Jewish people first. And that was probably at least in part because you have to understand, in the Jewish mindset back then, if Jesus did start ministering to non-Jews, large scale, the Jewish people, his own people, would have instantly rejected him as the Messiah. Because they would have said, well, God wouldn't have sent a Savior to just anyone. He would have sent the Savior to us, to his own people. I mean, that's the way we interpret what he says in the Old Testament. So for God's plan to work out like it was designed to work here, things had to go in a certain order, which Jesus brings up to this woman. And she seems to understand. She basically seems to go, I know they have to go first, but can't I even just get something here, please? To which Jesus is impressed, right? He's impressed with her persistence and her faith. Jewish or not, she had the kind of faith we talked about last Sunday. She had the kind of faith Jesus is looking for. So he says, okay, and he makes a gracious exception in her case and heals her daughter. Time out, Matt, you may say. You just skipped over the part where Jesus calls her a dog. I mean, what about that? Well, you have to understand that back in the first century Jewish mindset and Jewish culture, Jewish people often referred to non-Jewish people as dogs, which, no, was not a nice thing to do. But get this, okay? When Jesus does it in this passage, the word that he uses in the Greek language it was originally written in isn't this harsh term for dogs that others might use. The word he uses refers to like a little puppy that would make you go, "Aw, yeah, but that's still a dog," you may say. And I know, but listen to me, okay? Because I think he did what he did for a reason, especially in terms of how this passage plays out. Because remember, the whole time Jesus is traveling and teaching and healing and ministering to people, what else is he doing? He's training his 12 apostles, right, who were all Jewish. He's training them to one day start the church and get it going. So, as one commentary I read put it, I think Jesus was trying to basically take his disciples by the hand and lead them from where they already were mindset-wise, that this lady's a dog. He wanted to get them to reconsider their perception of people like her. First, by playing with the wording they'd usually use and using this term that wasn't as harsh as any number of them might have said. Then, he graciously heals her daughter and commends her faith. And in the process, he not only helps her, but he takes advantage of this opportunity to kind of adjust the perspective of his disciples a little bit and nudge them in the direction he'd eventually lead them in the book of Acts to realize, oh, this Jesus stuff ultimately isn't just for the Jewish people, it's for the whole world. In Jesus' kingdom, in this new thing called the church, there is no Jew or non-Jew. We're all one family. And so I think this passage on one level is basically a Jesus version of what you parents would call a teachable moment, right, with your kids, which I hope is a lesson that you and I learn from today as well.